Okay, now what you'll typically see, right now you're seeing a full screen and you're seeing all the values are coming back. Now these values are because, as you can see, this ventilator is using a what we call a passive or single circuit. So this ventilator is actually doing, has algorithms in here, and it is extrapolating all the data from the flow required to the pressure to get in that volume. And that's what's giving you back the readings. As you can see, we're set for a target tidal volume of 200, and it is giving you more or less very close to that. If you follow through here, these are going to be your pressures. You can see with the pips that are being generated, peak inspiratory pressures of about 20. You have your map of 7. And moving across, you have a peak flow that's being generated, and it also calculates out the minute volume. Now, this is all being extrapolated within the ventilator. You will not always, typically at home, you will not see the screen. Once again, it depends on Advanced Home Care or whatever durable medical equipment provider is in charge of this ventilator, and it depends on how they leave what kind of screen options they leave this ventilator in. Now, once again, if we go into the provider menu, as you can see, I can go scroll to options, highlight options, select options, and I can go into menu access as limited, which is always the case. You want to keep menu access limited. Now, you could keep it simple without needing to go through this secret handshake by simply modifying this and turning it on full. But if you forget to change it back to limited and the patient goes home like this, and patients may have full access of being able to change any of their settings or so. So we definitely advise against that, always keeping this menu access limited. We'll say okay. Now detailed view, this is the view that's going to give you all of these features. You can see detailed view is on. Now, if I turn it off and we go back to the screen, you will notice that you cannot see any of those numbers. You will see the pressure bar still going or so, but you're just going to see a clock here. Now, a lot of times, patients at home aren't going to need to see all of that, and sometimes it could also even lead to greater anxiety or so if it's not a clinical person. So that's why a lot of times home care providers will leave the machine as is right now, just with the clock showing. And of course, it has your battery life and things of that nature. Now, if the patient comes in the ventilator and you see this screen, and you want to get into that more of a detailed screen, once again, secret handshake, alarm silence, and the low button. Go to options, select options, and there you'll be able to access detailed view, modify, and can turn that on. And hit OK, and of course follow the prompts, finish, and exit. Once again, with that detailed view is now on for you, so you can kind of see all the patient parameters. Just to go over a few things here. Typically, you're going to see passive circuits. Like I just talked about earlier, this ventilator will, through its algorithms, just using a simple passive circuit, which is a great advantage for being at home. Why? Because there's less things to disconnect, obviously, less things to get condensation in, less tubing, and things of that nature. Just take you for a walk around. Here's the battery in the back. You can take out this battery. It's a hot swappable battery. These are good for about 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours, depending on how aggressive the ventilator settings are. If they're less aggressive, the batteries could last actually up to 5 hours. There's also, if this battery ever comes out, just make sure to click it back in like that. There's also one of these batteries internally. So between the two batteries, this patient should have, without power, 6 to 10 hours worth of power. Once I reset this, you'll see these are the batteries here. You can see with the square on it or around it, that means that the battery is working. So this ventilator is currently functioning on the battery. Let me just bear with me for 1 second.